Hey guys, and welcome back to Fertility Charting 101. Today I want to talk to you about OPKs, or ovulation prediction kits. Now, ovulation prediction kits are basically just test strips that help you predict when you ovulate. There's tons of different kinds out there. There's the clear blue. We have the first response. And there's a bunch of internet cheapies out there, one brand being the One Pro and another brand being Easy at Home. So how they work is that 24 to 48 hours before you ovulate, your body has what's called an LH surge. LH stands for luteinizing hormone. And the LH surge is actually what causes the egg to burst from the follicle and into the fallopian tubes. And what OPKs do is they detect the amount of LH in your urine, and this will help predict when ovulation is going to occur. So basically, how you use OPKs, I found this out the hard way. Read directions first. Based on whatever kind you have, read the directions. Some say dip it in there for 15 seconds. Some say dip it in the urine for 5 seconds. Some say 3. Some say urinate right on the stick. So there's a lot of different ways it can be done. So make sure you read your directions, because, especially if you're using the expensive ones, because yeah, I found that out the hard way. But anyways, so to begin testing, you're going to know when to begin testing based on the length of your cycle. So let's say you have a 21-day cycle, then you want to start testing on cycle day 5. If you have a 22-day cycle, you want to test starting on cycle day 6. If you have a 23-day cycle, you want to test on cycle day 7, etc., etc., etc. Every cycle day, you add a day as to when you want to start checking for your LH surge. And like I said before, some of them you'll urinate directly on, and then some of them you'll actually want to collect your urine in a cup and dip the strip in there. And so normally, I think everyone that I've read has said to wait 5 minutes to read the results. So 5 minutes is a fairly normal time for you to get your results. So next I'm going to show you how to read your OPKs. There are 2 lines on the OPKs. One line is what's called the control line, and the other line is called the test line. For an OPK to be considered positive, the test line has to be darker or as dark as the control line. You always have a small amount of luteinizing hormones in your system, so most likely you will always get 2 lines on your ovulation prediction kits. But if the test line is really, really light, then that's just the normal amount of LH that you have in your system. So I'm going to show you some more of my wonderful artistry. So this top one right here is what would be considered invalid. So if you urinate on it and nothing comes up here, the control line, and something only comes up on the test line, then that's considered invalid. On the second one, you'll see is a negative, and as you can see, the test line is there, but it's lighter than the control line. The third one is a positive. These are just test and control are the same color. And the fourth one is also a positive, where the test line is actually slightly darker than the control line. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. But that's what you want to look for when you're reading your OPKs. So next we'll get into some problems with OPKs and just some other useful tips. So like I said earlier, the OPK tests for your LH surge, which happens right before ovulation. The problem with OPKs is that your body can actually have an LH surge without ovulating. This is uncommon, but it does happen. So even if you're getting a positive on your OPKs, it doesn't mean you're ovulating. You would have to confirm that with basal body temperature or ultrasound, some kind of medical test, or the basal body temperature, which is not medical. You can do that yourself at home. Also, some women experience what's called false LH surges. They have, I guess, like mini peaks of LH surges, and so the ovulation prediction kit will look like you're having your LH surge, and you'll stop testing at that point, but you will have really ovulated later in your cycle because your body was just gearing up to ovulate, then it went back down, kind of geared up again. So that can cause the timing of intercourse to be too early, and we all know it's about getting the sperm to the egg. So you need to have good timing. As we talked about in the cervical mucus portion of this series, cervical mucus is very important because it nourishes the sperm, and it actually helps get the sperm to the egg. And sorry, a lot of times by the time the OPK shows the surge, your cervical mucus is actually starting to dry up. So that can be a little bit of a problem there. Another thing, OPKs can cause a lot of stress, because what I've learned is that I can give you the facts, you can read the facts, but every woman's body is different, and for me at least, my body didn't do exactly what the books were telling me. I had to learn my own cycle, and OPKs can be very stressful because they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Another reason that they can cause stress is because you might not always catch your LH surge. Some women's surges are very short, and if you're not testing several times a day, you might not catch it. Unless you're just super rich, something like Clear Blue or First Response is not going to be a good option to do testing several times a day. I mainly use the One Fro. You can find them on Amazon, and they're really cheap. So you can use a lot without having to spend all of your money. So that's helpful if you want to test several times a day, which I would actually suggest if you're starting out with OPKs, just so you can kind of learn your body. Otherwise, it can be way too expensive. Another thing, just because you don't get a positive does not mean that you're not ovulating. Like I said earlier, you could miss your LH surge. And also, you know, sometimes it just doesn't catch it. The reason I know this is because I've personally had 2 cycles where the test line was not greater than the control line or equal to it. The test line was lighter. It was the day that I felt like I had ovulated, the test line was the darkest that it had been throughout my cycle, but it still wasn't as dark as the control line. According to the OPK, that's not a positive. But I had medical testing done twice, and it confirmed ovulation. So I did ovulate, but I never got a positive OPK. So for me, I've learned that when I'm using my OPKs, even if I don't get a positive, once it gets to the darkest line, that kind of means that was my LH surge, if that makes sense to anybody. But I also use other fertility signs and basal body temperature to confirm ovulation, so that helps. But OPKs I just kind of use as a little bit of a extra hint, I guess. And let's see. And so, anyways, like I said, I use other fertility signs, mainly cervical mucus and basal body temperature. And so, for me, OPKs are not really stressful. They're just like a little extra tool to use. It's it's actually, I went one cycle without using OPKs, and I had screwed up my basal body temperature, and anyways, I ended up being like 4 days late, and I was so stressed out, and I kept getting these negative pregnancy tests, and I was like, what is going on? So for me, actually using the OPKs are a little bit more soothing because the one cycle I did not use OPKs was a disaster. But that's going to be a personal decision. Basically, like I've said over and over and over, every woman is different. You might need a few, cycles to learn your pattern. If you don't want to use OPKs, there's no problem with that, because there are a lot of issues that come with them. But I think that's it for me on the OPKs. If y'all have any questions, make sure to leave them down below in the comments, or just leave a nice comment if you enjoyed this video. And next up on the charting series will be symptoms. So stay tuned for that, and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Hit the like button, and if I missed anything that you think is important, leave it in the comments down below, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.